So the reason I even looked for someone like you was I was living with chronic pain for the past 3 years. Like it's called vulvodynia, which is basically just chronic pain of the vulva and for me also vagina. Um, that had been kind of getting worse and worse over time, a little bit better, a little bit worse, but kind of hung out between a 7 and 10 out of 10 every day. All day, no matter what I did, always in pain.
What did the pain feel like?
Burning, stabbing, shooting, whatever. Nothing. Always aware, always trying to figure out how to manage it. I'd gone to so many, maybe like 3 or 4 gynecologists, got all this testing done. Nothing was wrong, according to them. And was super frustrated, felt super isolated, super alone. And the treatments that I saw, nothing felt right. Nothing felt like the solution for me or the path for me. And I was really feeling like so desperate, like so upset. And so like my life was really small, and all consumed by this pain.
Mm.
And I was on some kind of like Facebook group. There was some posts about like, it was like a manifestation group and something about sexual empowerment or something like that. I clicked a link. I found Genevieve somehow through this link. I don't really remember. But I got the link to her Instagram and I started reading through the posts and there were all these beautiful pictures and I started reading the text below the pictures. And they were really moving and like really resonated, but also really triggering. So I just kept reading them and I was like, this sounds like kind of baloney. Honestly, I was like, this is like, too much. Like this is like right? I was like, who lives like this? And I was like kind of triggered. And I was like, all right, well, maybe this. And I think it was a story about like how you were living in a small place. Like you had some sexual trauma and you were talking about how you are now. And I was like, that kind of resonated with like my kind of story. And I was like, maybe this is something I could like delve into or look into or something. So I signed up for the call, like I think it's called Passionate Possibilities call.
Yeah.
Thinking like, whatever, it's a free call. I'll see what she has to say. And you guided the whole call. You asked a lot of like very pertinent questions. And I felt really like I was being listened to for the first time. Mm-hmm. I felt like in the medical system, it was always like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are your symptoms? And like, what is the problem? Like, what is the pain is the problem? Mm. And your questions were more holistic. Like, what's going on in your life? Like, what do you want out of life? What's going on now? And like, just more, it felt more personal. And like, you would also repeat back to me what I said in a way that felt like I was really being heard. Mm. And then I also just, something in me just knew that this was the right thing for me. I don't know what it was. I said no to a lot of other things. But
can you tell us, I remember how worried you were about the financial commitment.
Oh yeah.
So can you go into that and like what that meant for you and why you decided to jump in? Because I think a lot of people think that people that work with me are just like kind of floating around in money because it is a significant investment. And you did something, you created a way for you to still say yes. So can you talk to us about that? What was that like for you?
It was super duper scary. I've never spent this much money on anything in my entire life. I'm a graduate student. I am by no means in any way wealthy. I was actually, I don't know what it was. Something in me was like, this is a thing. I was calculating like how much money it would take to like spend years on like physical therapy stuff or on like other modalities with still like no guarantee of results and like not feeling like it was the thing for me. And like, as far as like the investment in myself, this felt worth it. Like I don't know what it was like, and it was so scary. And I, for the first like maybe 2 months of us working together, was like, I don't know if this is worth it. But I kept on being like, if this gets me out of pain, I've spent 3 years in pain every day of my life. Like this will be worth it. Like it just will.
So where are you now?
Okay. So now, luckily, I mean, not luckily, like this is the process that works. But I'm almost every day, 1 out of 10 max on the pain scale.
One
Maybe
out of
two.
10, maybe
One out
two.
of 10,
Yeah.
maybe two. Most days I forget that I have it.
Wow.
Not to say that it didn't take a lot of time. Like, I mean, a lot of time. Relatively to how long I've been in pain, not that much time. But it wasn't like one session, boom. It was like a lot of processes and home play prescribed by you. And like connecting with myself and a lot of self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and self-pleasure. And it happened a lot faster than I expected. I remember on our first call, I was like, I don't think this can happen in our 4-month window. And you're like, okay. You're like, I've seen a lot happen in that window. I was very skeptical. And in the beginning, like the first couple of weeks, I was like, nothing is changing. The pain is still there, like always looking for the pain. And that's my patterning. My patterning was looking for the pain. And Genevieve's processes kind of reorient you to looking for pleasure, which in the system feels completely different and is a very stark change if you've been living in chronic pain, which was my patterning. Before this pain, I had a herniated disc for 3 years. Before that, like I've been creating pain problems in my system, right? That's what I've been doing, to protect myself in all kinds of ways, particularly in the sexual realm. Both of these instances were due to a sexual traumatic incident. And putting the pieces together and not treating the pain like the problem, like it's just a symptom. It's not, and I kind of also, I created the pain, as I realized, like we always do. And then also figuring out that the suffering is optional. Like the pain is there, but being in suffering was a choice I was making. It could be there, it could not be there. It's kind of neutral. But the emotion I was attaching to being in pain and the future I was creating, believing I'd stay in the pain, that was suffering. And then you kind of helped me figure out how to rewrite that narrative because it was all stories. And slowly that was chipping away, right? And bringing in practices like with self-pleasure and with meditation and kind of bringing everything together. Yeah.
So what's possible for you now? What's possible in your sex life? What was possible before in your sex life? Was there any possibility?
No. So before was total isolation. Like I was totally like off the market. Like no, I mean I wasn't even like touching myself. Like I was very like afraid to make anything worse. Everything felt traumatic. Everything felt like I was always on guard because physically I was on guard, but I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah.
And it felt like my whole future of dating was just like in this little tiny box of like, I can't get out of this. And if I can't fix this, I can't do anything.
So you kind of gave up on partnership, you gave up on sex, like too painful. It might re-traumatize me. Like I'm good with just being by myself.
I couldn't figure out how to explain this to someone, like how to even broach the subject. Like I'll never understand. I also don't want to be touched because it hurts. Like none of it felt like it was on the table.
Right.
And now, like, I'm not currently dating, but I'm also like open to it, but not in like a place of desperation because I feel like I'm full. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
tell us about that. What's that feel like in your body?
Just like satisfaction and like chilling out. Like, before I was so anxious and so worried all the time, and a feeling of desperation. But in every aspect, right? Like desperation for healing and for partnership and for money. Like everything felt desperate. And now it's like I'm good. Like everything feels right. Like everything feels like chill. I'm chill.
Yeah.
Like, and it's okay. Like I do want things, of course, but I'm also like everything is fluid.
Yeah.
It all felt so stagnant and it was fixed. And now everything I know it's malleable. Like nothing stays the same. And even if it's been there for a long time, doesn't mean it has to stay there for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm now open and like excited, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you're in a space of non-attachment, right? Like just
yeah, exactly.
Full satisfaction in your body, with yourself, with your life. And in that space, by the way, like I'm excited for a week, 2 weeks from now, I get an email that you call in this partner and you have the most ecstatic sex, because why wouldn't you from this place? Right. And you believe it's possible now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Very different. So that's amazing. Great work. It wasn't really work. Whatever. Great play. Yeah. Nice playing with you. What would you want to tell someone who's watching right now, who's in a space of desperation and just feeling like this woman, okay, maybe it happened for her, but it can't happen for me, and I'm never going to find pleasure again? What would you tell that person that's watching?
Totally. So that's exactly where I was. I was totally like, this is why would this work for me? I've been in pain for so long. I've gone to doctors. Nothing is like, no one can help me. And what I have to say is like, maybe the paradigm you're using to work on that is incorrect. like it's a problem oriented model. Whereas I feel like this is like a solution oriented model, in that like pleasure is a solution. Like it's so hard to explain because like I don't have really the words to do it. But it's a very different way of living when you're thinking about where's the pleasure rather than where's the pain. And that's something most people haven't tried because it's not something that's really prescribed by any clinician you're going to go to. But your system activates in a very different way. And things resolve, in my experience, much more quickly than I ever imagined. And I think it's a worthwhile investment in yourself and your body and your future. If that's something that you can get yourself to believe. Because if you don't buy into it, like nothing works, right? Like that, unfortunately, like if you don't believe it, nothing works. However, like I came in I was
like, wait, but you didn't believe it
I didn't believe it first, but I had to like experience, right? It's part of the experiential, like you guiding me through the processes and like showing me in like kind of bite-sized titrated pieces how that could be true. But when you feel it in your body, like, you know, it's true. But that's a place you have to, I guess I'd have to say, like, you have to believe in the possibility of that to be true.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if the belief is in possibility, then like, I say go for it. Right? Like, you don't have to believe the whole thing because you haven't experienced it yet. And like, how could you if your body doesn't know it? My body didn't know it at the time. But I believed in the tiniest possibility of this could work, which I think allowed for it to work. So I hope you all can get there because it's really worth it.
Yeah, life is really fun now, huh?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's so different. I spent my entire days before this, like, just trying to manage the pain. That was all consuming, everything I did all the time. And I'm in grad school. Like, it felt like I was drowning all the time. And now I have all this freedom. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like freedom in my body, in my life, and everything. And like, was the financial part like really stressful at the time? Yeah. Do I think it was worth it? 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be in the same place I was before, which was absolutely miserable. With no like idea of how to get out of it. So this was incredibly impactful.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Anonymous Client, so much for coming on. And And you guys let her know what this brought up for you. Comment, right? What's this bringing up for you as you're watching or as you watch the replay, because you hit on some really beautiful points. And thank you for doing such a service to the community by letting them see what's possible, even if just a little bit. So
I hope this helps. I hope you guys all feel like really just feel this, and there's possibility. There really is. And I hope that you believe that.
Yay! Thanks, honey. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we stopped the live stream.